evening, and welcome to Sporlitics, where sports and politics mix and mingle. I'm Stacey Johnson. Joining me tonight is Aguna, the Nigerian moderate Republican, Stephen, the independent thinker, Keith, the constitutional conservative, and my cousin Todd. You've already heard President Biden test positive for COVID-19 as a heat wave travels around the world, and Europe and Great Britain adjust to buckling airport runways as the United States continues to experience wildfires and excessive heat. NASCAR with Steven as a wild ending to a race disqualifies multiple drivers and accepts one driver as winner by default. Pope Francis apologizes to indigenous groups in Canada for the Catholic Church's terrible treatment of them. Brittany Griner is back in a Russian court as Russia cuts gas supply to European countries by Nord Stream by 20%. Americans lead in the medal count at the track and field championships in Eugene, Oregon at the World Track Championships. Monkeypox, it's spreading, so much so that the World Health Organization says it is a global public health emergency. Steve Bannon is found guilty. Tour de France has a winner. And on Thursday, July 21st of this year, the president signed into law H.R. 8351, the Formula Act, which amends the harmonized tariff schedule of the United States to suspend temporarily rates of duty on imports of certain infant formula products and for other purposes. You do remember the infant formula shortage, right? A former U.S. congressman and an FBI agent trainee were among 9 people indicted on federal charges connected to unrelated insider trading schemes. The U.S. Attorney's Office for the Southern District of New York announced this past yesterday, Monday, and more. If we can fit it in, first up, NASCAR with Steven. A lot going on. Steven, let me play the clip and then you can talk. Okay? I'm going to play 2 clips and then you can talk. All right, here we go.
I'm Bob Pockris from Fox Sports, and some fast thoughts following a wild evening in Pocono here. You can see the NASCAR haulers, the officials' haulers are still here at Pocono, and those haulers contain the 11 car, the race-winning car, or the former race-winning car of Denny Hamlin, and this former second-place car of Kyle Busch. Both have been disqualified for what NASCAR described as a material in the front fascia that is not supposed to be there. Obviously, with the next-gen car, they are not supposed to add materials. They're supposed to only use what they get from vendors, and NASCAR has determined that they use materials that were not allowed and DQ'd the winner, Denny Hamlin, and the second-place car, Kyle Busch. A pretty, almost unprecedented event from over the last 50 years that NASCAR has DQ'd a race winner in the Cup Series. NASCAR several years ago started saying they would DQ people. We've seen it in non-winners on the Cup Series. We've seen it in Xfinity Series winners. We've seen Truck Series winners, but never in Cup. They do have the opportunity to appeal, but I would say this is that, NASCAR is not going to DQ somebody, especially a winner in the Cup Series, unless they are pretty certain that they violated the rule and did it pretty egregiously.
Oh my goodness, this guy is incredible.
Hey race fans, thanks for watching our video. For all NASCAR on Fox News content and the best clips from Fox Sports, be sure to follow and subscribe to our channel.
We have to let you know that the clips are not ours. They belong to someone else. So you'll always hear a message, and this is for educational purposes. Let me play, Stephen, the other clip. All right, here we go.
Yeah, unfortunately, we were doing our post-race inspections, which we do. There was some issues discovered that affect aero of the vehicle. The part was the front fascia, and there really was no reason why there was some material that was somewhere that it shouldn't have been, and that does basically come down to a DQ. It is a penalty. Both first 11 of Denny Hamlin and the 18 of Kyle Busch been DQ'd. Their vehicles are being loaded in a NASCAR hauler. They're going to go back to the R&D center. The final results have been changed to show that the two DQs were there, and they have the opportunity to appeal it, and it'll be all sorted out by next week. So, like Mike said, I can't get into all the details of what the issues were, but both vehicles had the same issue, and unfortunately, they were not acceptable to pass the inspection.
Wow, that took forever.
It was rough. It was a
So,
rough
Stephen,
race.
what happened? What in the world happened? It seemed like to me they thought they had one winner, then another winner, and then they were both disqualified for something they did, and now by default you have a
The
what
guy who
happened?
came in third, the guy who actually came in third got the win because they penalized the top two for not passing post-race inspection. They haven't taken a win away from a driver since 1960, but they took the win away from Denny Hamlin, and because he had cheated or whatever, or maybe they tried to put something in. They did something that was maybe egregious, but when this happens, generally you just lose money. You lose the head person off your team. You lose things, but you don't lose the win. Somebody else doesn't get the win, and what that was devastating for people who had Denny Hamlin and behind him his teammate from Joe Gibbs' team, Kyle Busch. So these two guys had to go to the back of the field at the end of the race, and they came in last and second last when they had won the race. This is funny. For this race, we're in a bunch of pools, and I'm going to pool with my dad, so I picked for him. I picked him, Denny Hamlin, and I took Kyle Busch. And I said, this couldn't have been any more perfect Sunday. We all celebrated. We had a glass of champagne, and then they said, oh, wait a minute. Elliott won. So it was really, really ridiculous. I hate it for racing right now because that's not what they need. All they need to do is penalize. But you know what's most horrible to me is Kyle Busch. He was second. Oh, I don't know if I mentioned this to you before. Denny Hamlin had already had two failed inspections before the race. So he was already suspicious. He's already tried to do something. And therefore, he started first, but he couldn't have the first stall in the pits. He couldn't have his crew chief there. They had already penalized him. Wow. So if you're going to take the win away from him, well, then that's three things he didn't pass. But Kyle Busch only failed post-race, not any of the pre-race inspections. So why should he get the same penalty is what I'm saying. He should still get second place. And they may come back and say, look, we changed our mind. We have to have a review. Everybody has to come together and come to the same conclusion. And I think this could be overturned. Maybe not for Denny with 3 infractions, but just Kyle was just one. It's like he got pulled in because he was driving the getaway car. You know, like they were robbing a bank, right. and he was driving the getaway, so they both got to get the same thing. Right. I mean, this is crazy justice, man. A lot of the fans don't like that. They want the justice and the prosecution to match what they did. That was so egregious for them to get in trouble. But right. It was a good race.
That was really. Race. Yeah, that was really crazy. I mean, even who was the driver where his daughter came up to the car and she started crying? Who was that?
That was the winner of the race, Denny Hamlin. And then she got the checkered flag, and then she jumped in the the other side of the car, and he took her around and did burnouts with her. And he had he's the most winningest racer at Pocono, and then a couple hours later they took it away from him. You know what I mean?
Well, yeah, that's terrible. His daughter looked like she was like all of what, 10 years old, 11 years old?
Yeah, she was crying. She was
really
happy for her dad. Yeah.
Yeah, that was nice. So Todd had to step away for a minute, Nas. So you want to say something about somebody's toilet?
I was expecting Todd to flush the toilet at some point. We're sitting here listening to people talk about people doing right turns or whatever the hell that sport is.
When I don't understand things, I make fun of him and put him down too, because it makes me feel better about myself and my situation.
I'm glad you're mature enough to admit that, man. I feel better now.
Yeah.
All right. Let me share the screen about the World Track and Field Championships. Watch this.
As the men are assembled for the 4x400 meter relay to decide the World Championship. Welcome back, folks. Lee Diffie along with Addo Bolden, Sonia Richards-Ross on this closing evening of the 2022 World Championships here at Haywood Field on the grounds of the University of Oregon. The US men are ready to go. Such an amazing track record in this event at the World Championships. And it should continue. But as we've seen many times in these World Championships, there have been more than a few surprises. We will see.
That was their second Olympic medal ever across all sports.
Here's the lineup for Team USA. That's Elijah Godwin. He will run off, as he does so well in each and every relay that he's in. He'll hand over to 400-meter world champion Michael Norman. There's Michael. Bryce Deadman is up third, and champion Allison, the youngster, will run it home in the anchor.
The way Godwin has been leading off, that position will be his until he decides he doesn't want it. He's been running some high and mid 44 splits out of the blocks. Very spectacular stuff throughout the mixed relay and the heats in this event.
Not easy to find a dominant first leg, and they've definitely found one in him.
All right, I'm going to stop sharing that.
Send it to him so he can see it. Nas, send it to Nas.
So Nas, I used to think that the fastest runners for the Americans, were the football players. Those people who, the wide receivers for the football teams, the NFL, and they usually didn't run track. So of course, sometimes when we weren't winning medals, I said we need some of those wide receivers or some of those safeties that really, really run. But seeing these gentlemen do it, it's just amazing. Do you agree?
Well, there's a difference between track fast and football fast. So, like Tyreek Hill, probably the fastest guy in the NFL. You put him in those heats against those people, middle or back end of the pack. So, yeah, track fast is a whole different thing than football fast. And that's no disrespect to football players. That just tells you how much skill it takes. Like, you got to hit the genetic lottery twice to be fast as hell and then have the skills that are adaptable to football. And that's why, like the few track stars we have seen in football, it's like you had the guy from the Cowboys, whose name I can't recall right now.
Mm-hmm.
And, the Ishmaels, there have been a couple, but not a lot because, it's a lot of different skill sets in those two sports.
Right. We can't hear you, Cousin Todd. We can't hear you. We can't hear you. So I guess he's saying bye-bye. We can't hear you. You're not on. Okay, go ahead. Stephen or Keith, do you have anything to say about the tracks? I can't hear you either, Stephen.
Now you can hear me.
Now I can hear you.
Yeah.
All right, go ahead, Todd.
Okay. Oh, I was saying all of the USA teams, they're black. So, of course, they were going to win. That was a no-brainer. Of course you would say that. And that was a good race. I liked it. I think.
What about the Jamaica team? How many people were white on the Jamaica team?
I don't know. I never looked.
Or Great Britain or Canada. You know, they
I
had
think they had
people
some
who
white
were
people on
not.
the team.
Canada won. Canada
They had
won
some
one of the
token
races. Actually,
whites.
they beat the United States because this one runner handed off his baton to the fourth person really awkwardly, which slowed him up just enough for Canada to win for the first time since 1997.
Right.
Wow.
So what was your excuse for that, Cousin Todd?
I'm not interested in that. I just want to talk about
Oh,
the
please.
blacks who won today.
Yeah.
So anyway, they
you did.
were good. I couldn't believe it. I think sports is always more exciting when you have blacks in it. That's why I'm no longer into baseball, because there's not enough blacks.
There are plenty of blacks in baseball. What are you talking about?
Gosh. There's not enough blacks in baseball. Now, perhaps you're calling the Spaniards black.
No. I mean, African of African descent. Nas, aren't there plenty of blacks in baseball? Well, I don't know. You don't have a good team down there with the Atlanta Braves, but
We're beating you right now, so I mean, I don't know what you're doing with that.
I had the Braves for the last 2 days, and they killed me. Now they're going to win because I don't have them.
Yeah, keep your bad luck away from the team, sir.
all right, we'll move on.
You know what? I'm going to keep betting on the Braves every game now.
All right, let us move on. Watch this.
Kathy Hernandez live at Nimitz High School. That's where Griner played ball. Kathy's got the latest on what happened in court today. Kathy?
Good morning to you. Brittany Griner was in court overnight for a brief hearing, only about an hour, where her attorneys presented more evidence. Houston native Brittany Griner was in a Russian courtroom this morning for the 5th hearing of her trial. This is video of officers escorting Griner into the courtroom. She was handcuffed, wearing glasses and a tie-dye hooded sweatshirt with Black Lives for Peace written on the back. Griner was then brought into a defendant's cage inside, where she greeted her attorneys and reps for the U.S. Embassy. The WNBA star has been detained in Russia since late February, when authorities accused her of carrying cannabis oil in her luggage. She has pleaded guilty, but said she didn't intend to break Russian law. The trial has already included testimony from the captain of the Russian team, along with written testimony from a doctor saying he authorized her to use cannabis for pain treatment. Griner is being tried on drug smuggling charges and faces up to 10 years in prison.
We are still saying that she involuntarily brought it here because she was in a rush, as she said, packing, and this medication, she just forgot to take it out.
And tomorrow is a very important day, as Griner will take the stand and testify, and also face cross-examination by prosecutors. The trial is expected to end early next month. Reporting live in North Houston, Kathy Hernandez, KPRC 2 News.
Kathy, thank you so much.
So Nas, I'm sure she didn't want to leave her ganja in Russia. That's why she didn't forget it. That's why she packed it, right?
Look, I'm not here to judge anybody, man. I don't think anything's wrong with smoking. This may have been something that she's been doing for years and never had a problem with. Just this particular time, you know, it got flagged and, you know, she got in trouble. But I see nothing wrong with self-medicating, especially for somebody who's doing athletic things the way she does, as far as, you know, just good rehab for the body, you know what I mean? So, no, I got no problem with it. I don't judge her for it.
No.
The only thing I would say is I wish she had a better team around her where somebody's supposed to be the bag holder, man. Shout out to Snoop and every other rapper you can think of. When the tour bus gets pulled over, there's a guy who has to say, this is mine. That's all I'm saying.
Right.
Well,
right.
you know,
And two, to add to that, I don't call it even self-medicating, because the doctor prescribed it. So it's prescribed.
And
so it's not self-medicating.
But they know who's bringing stuff over there. They've probably known she's bringing stuff over there. They grabbed her up when they need somebody that they can, make a bargain with, and you get enough.
Yeah. So Stephen, yeah, that was my question. They're doing this so that they can make a trade for another Russian prisoner that's here in the United States, knowing that she has played for them, for Russia. She's won for them. They've had her back multiple times. They know who she is. So to do that was really rotten of Russia to do, wouldn't you say?
No, they just did it because that was their.
Because this occurred
That
before
was
the
planned.
Ukrainian invasion and all of the tension between the U.S. and Russia.
Right. That's what
This
it's all
happened
about.
Before all of that, and if you're making a plan to have a chip, it's not going to be a WNBA player. You know, like that's not really the chip you would kind of. I don't know.
Maybe they don't know any better. Maybe they didn't know any better.
So, Keith, let me ask you, you know, since they did arrest her when the tensions became higher between the United States, the Western world, and Russia, not just the United States, what does she face there in that Russian future? What does she face as a woman, as a Black, as an American, as a athlete, especially since she played for them? What is she going to face if they don't let her go? Any day, Keith. We can't hear you.
10 years. See, that's what she's going to face probably. 10 years in jail.
He said 10. I can't believe we can't hear Keith. Todd or Nas, Stephen, you wanna talk to that?
Yeah. If they give her 10 years, then that's a bigger bargaining chip. Because people in America say she can't stay there for 10 years. We'll be quick to try to get a woman out. I think that's what the psychology is here. That it's a woman. She's pretty high profile. We all think she's innocent, and we're all going to go to bat for her. So we're like, yeah, let those 80 killers out. Let 100 people out. And then they're hoping it gets to that. Because if they give her 10 years, then this country's going to be really upset.
Well, I don't think there's much they can do about it, you know, if they give her 10 years. I mean, the country's going to be
bargain.
They can bargain. The United States can do about it.
We can give them a prisoner. And then they can say, hey, you know, we're going to do an exchange, and we just don't come to this country again.
Right. Right. Just don't play for us again, right?
I don't think she's not going to do 10 years, number one. Number two,
no, she's not. But she might get
they're going to bargain. I just hope they don't take too long, because this is the United States of amnesia. So if it's over 2 years, she will be forgotten about. Like I said last week or the week before, you can't name 3 prisoners who were released, because Americans' attention span is very short. And so they're on to the next thing. So they'll get more bang for the buck if they release her within a year, no longer than 2, and with a trade. But other than that, she'll be forgotten about 3 years from now.
I hope not. That's horrible.
She'll be out before 3 years. We'll find a way to get her out.
Well, I hope so, but then I hope we find a way to get the other American prisoners out who are there too. She's not the only one, and there are families who want their family members who are prisoners.
Well, we can give them a lot. We can give them a lot, and then we can help them some kind of way, and we give them a lot of prisoners too, and they can give us all of our prisoners. Maybe we could do something like that.
I like how y'all are assuming none of those people are spies. I like how y'all are.
Yeah, they might be spies.
Assuming who are spies?
The Americans
that are locked up over there. We send agents the same way they send agents, and sometimes people get picked up. But I'm just trying to game out like you guys' plan. So they're sitting in the situation room, and the guy says, "Comrade Black, we must use Brittany Griner as bargaining chip. Her social media is spiking right now." Like, do you really think in the middle of a war, in the middle of him negotiating for that port, in the middle of them trying to figure out the grain distribution, and in the middle of trying to fight through the sanctions, like, do we really think that's really on the docket?
Well, I really think your Russian accent stinks, first off, but
how dare you?
But go ahead. Who wants to answer his question?
I don't think it's a coincidence, because it was no big deal. And so for them to hold her on such a trivial matter,
right?
I think it's more to it.
Yeah.
I think it's a personal thing.
How so?
I don't think it's personal.
I think it's personal against Biden. No, nothing against her. It's personal. It's never about the actual person. It's the president. And so I think that was deliberate. And for them to talk 10 years for that, it's
Well,
more
I think
to
that
it
was
than just.
probably merciful 10 years because it seems like to me they could have given her much more than 10 years.
No, that's
Yeah, but
extreme.
as far as I know, 10 years is the most you can get if she loses at trial. Not like this is 10 years. It's like when we see a story in America, somebody goes to court and they say with the possibility of 20 years.
Yeah.
At, the maximum penalty.
Yeah, we understand.
That's going to be adjudicated.
Yeah, but the maximum should have been
get that.
5 years for what she did. I just
Well,
don't
she
get it.
forgot to take some marijuana that it wasn't like she was walking through the airport smoking marijuana. You know what I mean? It was packed up in her luggage. It was in a sealed container. It was ready for travel. She did forget her prescription, but she wasn't going through smoking a marijuana cigarette or eating an edible or anything like that. So I don't know why they act like
that's
the
their
worst thing in the
law.
world with all the crimes
I
going
just
on in
think
Russia.
it's more to it than just
But
coincidence.
that's Russian law. Russian law. Russian law is a lot different than American law. Over here, we're relaxing all the laws against marijuana. They're not. They treat it like heroin. They treat it like fentanyl. Like they don't want that stuff in their country, but we keep our border open, and 100,000 people die every year from fentanyl. I mean, at least. So, we don't care about our border.
Yeah, well, that fentanyl, they should treat that the way they treated the crack epidemic. Throw them in jail.
I agree.
So Keith,
I agree.
let's see if we can hear you now.
No.
Keith, are you just
Why don't
messing
you do it
with us?
without?
If you told Keith Brittany Griner's name was Susan Smith, he would start commenting on Susan Smith. He doesn't know anything about Griner. He's not going to read on her or listen to it.
Well, disconnect your headset and let's see if it works then, Keith.
All right, how about now?
Yes.
How about now? Okay.
Yay. All right, Keith.
No headset.
Technology is
good to hear from you.
As Nas is. Anyway, I just wanted to say this much about, there was that black woman. Remember the black track runner? Remember that sister who let her run in the Olympics because of her use of marijuana?
Oh, yes.
I mean,
that was Sha'Carri Richardson.
Yeah. So it's not, I guess it depends on where you are. You got to look her in. That was in China. They wouldn't even let her participate, period. You just have to.
And what's isn't that interesting? But we have a visitor. But isn't that interesting that they're so?
But that's the IOC though. That was the Olympic Committee. That was their decision about what they were doing with marijuana
with athletes. That was their decision. Yeah, but it's interesting how they.
Stacey, let me say this. If Sha'Carri did get the run, she was gonna get smoked by those Jamaican girls anyway. Like if we're being honest here, she was not about to go over there and win.
Well, regardless, she was competing on behalf of Americans. And my point is, my question is, and we'll welcome our caller in a minute, but my question is, isn't it interesting how all of a sudden we have these serious rules about smoking marijuana or something else, and they are violating people's human rights every day in Russia and China?
And America.
Tiananmen Square.
What type of fantasy land do y'all live in?
No, it
All right,
happens
welcome
in
to
America
Sports.
as well. We agree with you. It happens in
Welcome
America
to
as well.
Sportitics, where sports and politics mix and mingle. What's your name and what's your comment? Or do you have one?
So much for that.
I guess they don't. So, all right, let's move on.
Let me say something. Before you go on, let me say something on behalf of America. Nas makes that statement that what he just said, talk about even in America. Well, look, we live in a society that's supposed to be civilized, but the society in the sense of lawlessness, but yet he ignores that. So all of the things other things we always cite. I just wanted to say that, we ignore
So we
incarcerate twice both of those countries. And also, like, you can look up the Innocence Project and see through DNA how they found out so many people were not guilty of crimes that they had to serve time for. Not to mention the war on drugs, which has caused ugly disturbance in Latino and Black communities for generations. And you look at sentencing for the same crime by race.
That's not
you
now.
get all the answers you
That's
need.
not now.
So yeah, don't start beating your chest and talking about justice from these United States of America. Stop it.
All right, let me share the screen. We have, before we go on, we have one more. Let's go over one more thing, and then I'm going to ask if anyone has another sport that they want to include before we move on to politics. But I want to share the screen with you, and somebody's sound is on really loud. If you can turn your sound down, whoever that is. Tour de France. I hear somebody's sound in
I
the
think
background.
Nas has his TV on. He's watching sports.
No, that's the wind whistling between Steven's ears.
Yeah, that's what it is. It was Nas. He turned his TV off and he got mad at me. I'm just trying to keep the show going now.
All right, thank you. Danish cyclist Jonas Vingegaard wins his first Tour de France title. This was written Sunday, July 24th, 2022. As you can see him right there, he won his first Tour de France title in Paris on the famed Champs-Élysées on Sunday. The 25-year-old Jumbo Visma rider beat two-time defending champion Tadej Pogačar, sorry about that, of Slovenia by 3 minutes and 34 seconds. Last year, he finished second to that same player. Congratulations to him. Cycling, people usually take cycling like, just take a bike down the street. But this cycling is real. It's serious. It's hard. It's tough. And to win like that for his first time at 25, he's probably got a great career ahead of him. Any comments on that before I move on?
I would have liked to have tried it years and years and years ago, but I couldn't mess with it now. It goes on for days. It goes on for a long time, and it's crazy. I mean, you get breaks, and you go in packs, but it's crazy. If you ride a bike every day, it's just so grueling, and they're as hard as they can on every time they turn the pedal. It's as hard as they can do it.
It is. Yeah, does anyone want to bring in? Thank you, Stephen. Does anyone want to bring in anything? I don't know about the Atlanta Braves.
No, they're just beating the hell out of Philly.
Well, of course, I don't want to hear that because I'm Philly. I'm a Philly fan all the time. All about Philly.
Did you say the Braves are winning?
Yeah. Yes.
God darn it! I knew it. Yeah, I was.
No, we can't hear you, cousin Todd. We can't hear you. We can't hear you. I don't know what you're saying. We can't hear Keith. Are you talking about Keith?
Is he talking about me or him?
I don't know.
Man, what's happening with these things? We taking coming in, going out, coming in.
I know, it's horrible. So let's move on. You can't hear me, Todd? Oh, I muted Todd. Oh, that's right.
Oh, you
muted Todd.
Oh boy, you are terrible.
No, Stacey's messing with you, Todd.
I kept saying you have me on mute.
And Keith is always saying I mute him and Stephen, but I don't mute Todd.
Oh, you.
Ha 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 ha.
It was so relaxed.
All right.
You're big enough. My camera, right?
Yeah, I think you're a little too big there. You're gonna have to move back. In the meantime, watch this while Keith is adjusting his camera. Watch this.
Hey, Dr. B. How's everything going?
Dr. Paul Benson has been treating patients in the LGBTQ community for 4 decades, throughout the deadly AIDS pandemic, and now through what the World Health Organization has labeled a new global public health emergency, monkeypox.
This is an infectious disease. Thank goodness it's not a deadly infectious disease. It cannot be spread by casual contact. It's got to be touch with lesions that are present.
Which is primarily through sexual contact and primarily seen, at least for now, in men who have sex with other men.
I've had 6 cases in this office, and they all came from events, whether it be a 4th of July event or a gay pride event, but there was sex at the end of that event.
The state health department says it is currently investigating 23 cases in Michigan. Dr. Benson says the World Health designation of monkeypox as a global emergency should create awareness, not panic. Dr. Matthew Sims, head of infectious disease at Beaumont Health, agrees.
Something like 95% of the cases have been in men who have sex with men.
Although the CDC has reported 2 cases in children here in the U.S., and the monkeypox virus has now been found in 74 countries.
It's going to take an international effort to get it under control again. It's not something that we can just handle it here in the U.S. and they can handle it there in England or Spain or wherever. It's got to be, a group effort.
One that involves awareness, common sense, and vaccines.
In contrast to HIV, there is a very effective vaccine available right now, and it will prevent you from getting monkeypox. The problem is availability.
Although vaccines are in short supply, Dr. Benson says he will be able to have a vaccination clinic for his patients on Saturday.
We need to prioritize people that are high risk first, and the common denominator for high risk is going to be multiple sexual contacts. If you're a gay man and you're in a monogamous relationship, just the fact that you're gay is not a reason to get the monkeypox vaccine.
Dr. Benson says the vaccine should be more readily available later this year.
Just like smallpox, we can eradicate this disease with vaccinations.
In Berkeley, Amy Lang, Fox 2 News.
Okay, you want to start with Keith? Because this is an emergency. Let me share my screen. How about that? I'm going to share my screen and show you what the CDC says about the global monkeypox outbreak. This is a 2022 monkeypox outbreak global map as of July 26, 2022 at 5 p.m. A total of 19,000 cases in 327 countries. 76 locations, 70 countries that have not historically reported monkeypox, and they are in 6 countries that have historically reported monkeypox. And here is the map that the CDC has put out about where it is around the world. And my question, Keith, to you would be, I think monkeypox is, although it's not as severe and it probably won't move the same way that COVID did, it seems as though it started out a little bit like COVID in that monkeypox seems like it's something foreign, it's far away, it won't get here for a long time. That's how COVID did. And next thing you know, it was here and it hit us. Do you think the same thing about monkeypox, Keith?
Well, it's probably, like you said, it's all. Hello? Can you hear me?
Go ahead.
Yeah.
Yes.
Sorry, Nas. Anyway, it seems like, it's already here. And all I can say is that men who marry other men, not besides AIDS, possibility of AIDS. So you got AIDS and now monkeypox. They did say in the report that it's, it occurs among heterosexual. It occurs among the gay, what do you call it? Gay, 2 men having abusing their bodies. I don't, because sex is only.
That's not what they said at all.
Well, what they said was,
he's fantasizing, so it's all right.
Men screwing with men, but so it did. They didn't say women with men.
They said it happens. The doctor said that it happened a lot with men who have sex with men.
Yeah. What
But
I'm saying
they
is not
also
sex.
have 2 children who had it.
I don't call it
Maybe
sex, first of all. Number two, I don't call it sex. And number two, it is interesting that it doesn't happen with women, lesbians.
They never said it doesn't happen with women. That's not what it said. It just said
Okay.
the majority of the cases.
All right. Now we're going to move on because
Gay or
this
bisexual
kind of
men.
stupidity is just repetitive. Let's
Like women can get with gay men. It happens.
So there have been 3,500 cases or 3,600 cases in the United States, if you can see.
Are y'all worried about it? I'm not worried. Like when COVID.
Are
first
you
came
worried
around.
about it?
No.
I don't mess with men. I don't mess with men.
If children got it, Keith, you don't have to mess with men. Children are, those children were not messing with men.
Yeah, how did they?
We know how they got it.
So we're going to take another disease lightly, and because of
Good
that,
question.
we're probably
We never took any disease lightly. We fast tracked shots for COVID. We didn't take it lightly.
Okay.
So Todd, you keep saying, okay, all right.
Because
so
you
what is
won't
it that
shut
you
them
say?
up. Tell
Go
them
ahead
to
and say what you
shut
want to say.
up. I'm not going
Just
to
say
fight to get into the conversation.
Go ahead.
When you got
Talk
dumb
now.
and dumber, just babbling. Oh, you know what? I'm not really worried about it because you know one thing. I don't call it sex. I call it all that kind of stupid. And you just sit there instead of muting these imbeciles. So
okay,
now
your
this is the
little
same.
accent was
Oh
horrible,
boy,
just
here
like
she's going
Nas's.
to back them up. Nas, there's no hope for normalcy
Nas,
anymore.
help me.
So
Help me,
anyway,
Nas.
this put yourself on mute and you're too.
Like what I'm trying to say is like we're gonna talk about this in a real way. This is what they did with AIDS.
AIDS, that's where I was going,
This
Nas.
is only in that community. It's not a big
That's
deal. Don't
right.
worry about it. And because of that, the thing was able to spread more than it would have if we were aware, if we were a little more strident in how we prepared for it.
Exactly.
So this disease, and they're saying it takes a lot of physical contact for the disease to spread. Now, if you think that's only going to happen within the one community as opposed to that spreading around the country in different forms, now how little or how big it spreads is going to be up to our response. Now, if our response is similar to COVID, where we have to argue with people about whether it's the flu or not, or whether it's real or not, and all of that, then we should expect another raggedy outcome. Yeah, but no, this is a real thing. We should be prepared for it, should make people aware, and give them the tools so we can kind of stamp this out.
Exactly. And
Like,
also,
what's the other side to that? Like, I don't even understand what the other side would be arguing.
well, they just whenever they hear about gay people, they just go crazy, especially people like Keith. Nevertheless, they also said it could have been passed through sheets or bedding. They're not sure yet. They're investigating. But when you have this kind of ignorant approach like Keith and Stephen, I'm not really worried about it. That's the same approach they had with AIDS, where Ronald
it also
Reagan
makes you aware of a huge difference between a professional and somebody who do it part-time. Staying at a hotel, at least you know there's some cleaning standards. You stay in an Airbnb,
right.
which is possibly in sheets, good luck.
That's right. And so therefore the spread could be radical. So anyway, we got to take this seriously and not be ignorant and narrow-minded and say, I'm not worried about it, or I don't have sex with men. I don't even call it sex, and all that kind of, Trump supporters are a real thing. And Trump knows how dumb his audience is.
What's that got to do with monkeypox?
Because only a Trump supporter would take the approach like, I'm not really worried about it. Because see, men's that sleeps with men's, and that's all I heard. Only a Trump supporter would say that.
Okay, so let me read. I'm sharing my screen with you. This is the CDC website, cdc.gov, pox virus. Monkeypox.
And then
it says 2022.
This is very small to read.
Okay, let me see if I can make it bigger.
No, that's okay because I really want that off so that my face can be seen.
I'm sure you do. I'm not surprised. So 2022 monkeypox, what you need to know. The CDC is tracking an outbreak of monkeypox that has spread across several countries that don't normally report monkeypox, including the US. It's spreading mostly through close, intimate contact with someone who has monkeypox. You can take steps to prevent getting monkeypox and lower your risk during sex.
Or don't have
The
sex.
CDC recommends vaccinations for people who have been exposed to monkeypox and people who are at higher risk of being exposed to monkeypox. If you have any symptoms, talk to your healthcare provider, even if you don't think you had contact with someone who has monkeypox. The CDC is urging healthcare providers in the United States to be alert for patients who have rash illnesses consistent with monkeypox.
Stacey, I have a
In other
question.
words,
for
please
you.
keep the light on to make sure somebody
Stacey?
ain't got a whole bunch of lesions all over the body.
So if you look at this, map I'm showing, the darker colors are in the states are showing a they're showing that they are not affected by monkeypox.
Oh,
I mean,
wow.
they are affected by monkeypox, and the light states are showing that they are not. Montana,
Right.
Wyoming, Alaska,
They're probably
but
red.
every other state,
They're
Vermont,
probably red.
they don't have any cases as of right now. That happened with COVID. Remember, we saw the map that the CDC put out for COVID, and then it started out where a lot of states hadn't been hit, but then by the time it moved, so this thing is moving. By the time it moved, it hit all states.
I remember people like speaking about New York in foul ways, like, oh, well, see, that's what New York gets because New York does bada, bada, bada. And not understanding that, no, this is going to be a nationwide, even global thing we got to deal with. Now, prison populations, that's where something like this, if it gets in, that becomes really tough to try to stamp out and difficult to deal with. And we got to remember, fellas, it's almost football season. And you can say whatever you want to say, but if you think 40,000 people in a stadium, cheek to jaw, moving around and fighting and doing everything football fans do, like, if you don't think this could be a problem, I don't know what to tell you.
Stacey,
Yeah, go ahead.
I think that it's interesting to note that, maybe a lifestyle change is in order because if this is affecting, it's sort of like what Stephen said. I agree with Stephen. Maybe they have to change what, abstinence is never talked about, not even by the CDC. This is not a really.
Why don't you practice abstinence?
Not that they're having sex.
Well, maybe he just gets one woman to have sex with. It's called marriage.
Yeah, but what if she cheats on him?
Hey, don't put that in his head, Todd. Don't put that in his head.
All right, that's dumb. And
what's dumb?
Announced by the White House today, President Joe Biden testing positive for coronavirus for the very first time. And despite the 79-year-old reporting mild symptoms, he's now receiving the antiviral medication Plaxivit.
Our DC Bureau Chief Ben Kennedy joins us live outside the White House with an update on his condition. Ben.
Calvin, Nicole, White House doctors say President Biden does not have a fever. His symptoms are a runny nose, dry cough, and a bit of fatigue.
Hey folks, guess you heard.
Heard that President Joe Biden tested positive for COVID-19 more than 2 years since the initial outbreak. The commander-in-chief tweeted, "Folks, I'm doing great. Thanks for your concern."
Symptoms are mild, and I really appreciate your inquiries and your concerns. But I'm doing well.
Which was echoed by First Lady Dr. Jill Biden.
He's doing fine. He's feeling good. I tested negative this morning.
So she continued her school visit in Michigan while the president recovers at the White House.
He is breathing well
His oxygen level is normal.
In the White House briefing room Thursday, the administration highlighted that Biden is fully vaccinated and received 2 booster shots, the most recent one in March of this year.
Which gives him protection, right? Which makes it puts him in a good position.
The 79-year-old is taking Paxlovid, the antiviral drug, a 5-day course of pills which treats mild to moderate symptoms.
The goal of Paxlovid is to keep people from getting seriously ill.
I understand that the symptoms are light. I hope they continue to be so. That was my experience.
He is in good spirits. He is feeling well. He is doing well.
And this afternoon, the White House has been very busy contact tracing, informing everyone who has been in close contact with President Biden over the past day or so to follow CDC guidelines and to get tested. Reporting live at the White House, Ben Kennedy, Local 10 News.
Okay, Ben, thank you.
So, Keith, let's start with you. President Biden had, mild symptoms. I even read today that he has started doing a little light exercise. So don't you think that's a great testament to the vaccines and the booster shots working?
Well, it depends on how you look at it. Yes, you can say that maybe the vaccine had something to do with mild symptoms and hardly at all, which actually means something else. Stevie, maybe COVID is not as serious, and this new one is not as serious as people are making it. What do you say?
It's gotten old. It's gotten old.
Maybe this.
It's not going to be
maybe
as harsh.
The coronavirus isn't as serious, or you mean this iteration of it?
Well, maybe it's this new, maybe we're at a point where there's enough herd immunity, and so it's not as strong as they are making it out to be. The president is 79 years old, and he's got a lot of pre-existing conditions. He's mildly affected.
Extra medication that other people never got. He's getting extra medication that people, when this started, didn't get this medication. If the shots were so good, he would not need any extra medication. He'd be fine.
Right. And he
the shots are adverse. The shots are bad for your health. People are going to find this out.
Okay,
They're
all
going to do a lot
right.
of
She
studies
called on me.
People are going to find it out, and a lot of people are going to be in
I know
trouble.
you're a scientist and you've been to medical school, Stephen. But let me just look. You can't control them. So anyway, I think they're on mute.
Yeah, I put them on it.
Yay! So the thing is, getting the vaccine and the booster prevents you from getting very sick, where you have to be hospitalized or death. So this is why Keith got the vaccine, but he's not going to readily admit that. He pretends he was forced to get it, and he wasn't, because he took his wife with him to get it. So they've both been vaccinated. So the thing is, people who are vaxxed and boosted are less likely to die and or be hospitalized. So
we say vax, boost it, test it. That's what we want you to do. Vax, boost it, test.
Right.
And mask.
And mask, exactly. Indoors, particularly. I don't think you have to mask outdoors. I don't mask when I'm outdoors, but of course I've been boosted.
With monkeypox, they make everyone wear a condom all day when he's around people. Because you never know what's going to happen.
Tell this to Keith when we're off the air. You and Keith can make fun when we're off air, and you guys can tell each other jokes about monkeypox and how you want to make love and all that after the show. But
make your point quick, Todd. You can't take the entire show to do so.
I can't. No, I can't. No, but they can. These Trump supporters can, when they're just talking about making love and what. Oh gosh. Anyway,
go ahead, Nas.
My point was, getting vaccinated is what saved him and plenty of other people.
Nas, you want to comment?
Well, I mean, this gives me the chance to say you can also see the unequal outcomes when it comes to healthcare. This person and the president had access to the greatest healthcare in the world. The majority of Americans do not have access to that. So, of course, that plays a part in his recovery. But the other side of this is, and like, look, man, you can only take this stuff so seriously. Like, think about when Trump came out and his doctor was like, yeah, he's the most fit. That dude is healthier than me. And if you're speaking in the form of the president's health, there's going to be a strict talking point that you're not going to move away from. Like, no matter what, you're going to say the president's healthy, he's doing better. It's like off-season football. He's in the best shape of his life. Like, that's how they're going to speak about a president no matter what. They're not going to come out and say, hey, man, I don't know, the president ain't doing what. Like, that would never happen in these situations. FDR was rolling around in that wheelchair for a year and a half before anybody knew anything. Like, this is not your job. Like,
so
you
let
can't
me
get out there and say the president's doing bad.
Nas, let me ask you this. President Biden's COVID diagnosis, according to FoxNews.com, is proof that vaccines aren't enough to fight the virus. Is that true? Do you think that? And why would you think that?
I don't think that means vaccines aren't enough. It just shows that there are extra steps you can take if you have the money to do so. Now, you want to start talking about free, or you want to start talking about universal health care in a way to where that stuff would be available to the average citizen, hey, I'm ready to listen.
And what it's also saying is this virus is mutating. You know, from the Delta to the
Omicron, BA.5. Keith, what did you want to say?
I was just going to say it is not prevented from spreading because you wear a mask or get shots. None of that stops the spread.
Sir,
it will.
We're 3 years into this, 1 million deaths into this. Like, we don't need your YouTube, Facebook stuff anymore. Like, you've been proven wrong.
The woman that was right beside Fauci said the shots didn't work. The woman who wore the scarf said the shots didn't work.
You're gonna have to let die, man.
So, Stephen,
the woman who Fauci scarf, she says now the shots didn't work. Y'all seen that yet?
Okay. That was Dr. Deborah. That was Deborah Birx. But Stephen, and she was an advisor to President Trump. Working directly under Vice President Pence, and she was right up there with Fauci. But she had done her history and her background had been on HIV. She was very done a lot of research on HIV when HIV first came out.
Fauci was all about HIV.
So I want to go back to a point, right? I want to go.
What do you mean all about HIV? You mean she studied it and worked on? Like what?
Who, me? You talking about me?
No, talking about Steven.
Yeah.
She did research. She did do research for HIV.
Yeah, and Dr. Fauci is one of the main people that helped develop the AIDS vaccine that was actually hurting people, and they were keeping the good drug away from the people because they didn't care if they died or not. It was an experiment to take people out.
The AIDS vaccine? What are you talking about?
There isn't an AIDS vaccine. There isn't a cure to AIDS yet.
Stacey, why don't you tell him to shut up so you can move on? But you'll tell me you can't keep talking.
Shots that they were giving people with AIDS were not doing anything at home.
Oh, that's right.
Guess
Todd.
what?
Let me say this.
This COVID vaccine is not a vaccine either.
Let me say this.
Let me say this. Is not a vaccine either.
Excuse me.
They changed the definition. They changed the definition.
Shut up, Keith.
His name isn't Keith. It's Steven.
If you talk to one, you're talking to the other.
Let me say this. Anyone who believes, Nas made a comment that President Trump was healthy, was healthier than his doctor. Anyone who believes a human being, and I don't care who the human being is or what race.
Okay, you can't go on and on. Make your point.
Wait, let me mute him, everybody. Any human being over 70 years old is going to have some sort of physical issues. Any human being, any age, is going to have some sort of physical issues. So for the former President Trump to say that he was perfectly healthy and had nothing wrong with him, that should have told anyone that he is a liar, because every person has something wrong with them, because that is a human body.
And that's how we get the idea
Stacey,
of pre-existing conditions. The insurance companies came up with a great way to steal from everybody and basically charge you for being alive. You have a pre-existing condition. Yeah, you're a human. Now, to the Trump point, think about this. Trump's greatest achievement was Operation Warp Speed, where you got the vaccine out and you got it to American people. But he can't even brag about it because his backward supporters get mad and boo him when he brings it up. So the one great achievement that Donald Trump has as president of the United States, he can't even run on it because his supporters are so backward and YouTubeized and Facebook.
Yeah, he can run on the judges that he appointed to overturn Roe v. Wade. He can run on the judges.
So what I'm saying, Keith and Stephen and Todd and Nas, is President Biden is on a blood thinner and he's on something else. And he has revealed that to everyone. He is someone over 70 years old. He has ailments. How can former President Trump believe he's going to run against someone else and not say he has any ailments? That starts out as a lie. And how can you elect anyone into the highest office in the world and he starts out lying?
That's just Trump being Trump.
Stacey, are you serious?
Have you forgot about Donald? That's not a lie. That's Trump being Trump. That's Trump being boisterous, putting himself out there and trying to be funny and being ironic. He knows it's not true. It's not a lie.
Oh, he knows it's not true, or do you know it's not true?
It's obviously not true. It can't be true. He knows he's got health issues. It's not a lie. What he's saying is, I have the biggest health. I have the best health of anybody. I could run a marathon if I want to. That's his ego. That's how he is. That's why what he does. Because somebody that was put under so much heat and scrutiny before he was president, when he was president, and after he was president, and still get through it. That's a guy that has to have an ego to take him there. It's not lying. It's just the way.
What do you call it, Stephen? Hey, crazy. What do you call it? What do you call it?
I don't call it crazy. I call it. That's how he's successful. That's how his success comes from him being.
Okay, let Keith comment. Go ahead, Keith.
I would say better than Stacey. Guess what? The Bible says all men are liars. Now that you know that all men are liars, all people lie, including you and me. Move on to the next subject. Because if that is your case in Trump, then you are being foolish. Because you lie, but that's the way the Bible says.
Okay, Stacey, he's crazy. This is why Trump loves his supporters. He knows how dumb they are.
Because he knows we know the Bible.
Frente a este mal que indigna, la Iglesia se arrodilla ante Dios y le implora perdón por los pecados de sus hijos. Quisiera repetir con vergüenza y claridad: pido perdón humildemente por el mal que tantos cristianos cometieron contra los pueblos indígenas.
As soon as the apology started, people were triggered immediately. You could see it in the audience. You could see it and you could hear it from different messages we were getting as we were sitting there, that it triggered an opening of a wound again. And this wound that has been opened again, we can't just leave it like that. We really have to take the steps to make sure that we help heal and recover our people.
Hey, thanks for watching. If you like this video, check out these other videos from USA Today to stay up to date with all the latest news.
Okay, this is horrible. Stephen, this was horrible. This was such an atrocity that the Catholic Church did to the indigenous people in Canada and the United States, as a matter of fact. The pain, you could see in the pictures of those people, the pain that they're experiencing now as the Catholics at one point tried to really strip them physically, literally, mentally, emotionally of their culture as children and take them away from their families is the most egregious thing that they could do. Do you think that this apology really will start the healing? It's not just talk.
I think they could do a lot of things to be a lot more egregious, but I understand your point. How many
Like
years
what?
was this?
Like what, Stephen? What could they do that would be
What they
more
could have done to
egregious?
those, what they could have done to those children could be more egregious. We're talking about Catholics. I'm not getting into it. I'm not getting into it.
Okay, he's crazy. He's so crazy. He's a typical Trump supporter.
You don't think there's something
But,
more
you know,
egregious they
I think,
could have done to these children?
yeah, okay, Keith, let me tell you what they could have done that's more egregious. They could have hung a woman in a tree and slit her stomach, a pregnant woman, and let her baby fall out like they did to slaves, black slaves. That's more egregious.
Mm-hmm. Right.
That's
Okay.
worse.
It was. But how many years
that's
ago?
one thing that's one thing that's worse, Keith.
All right. Well, now can I speak? Can I
Stephen, I'm
speak?
sorry.
Okay.
Not Keith.
Okay.
Stephen. Go ahead,
Now,
cousin Todd.
yay. So now, and you may have to mute them because I don't feel like fighting to get words out. The Catholic Church is known for doing these egregious things to people of all races. The Catholic Church owned slaves until they determined that's probably not right for us to own slaves. So, you know what they did to those slaves? Sold them. They sold those slaves. They didn't free them, they sold them. So the Catholic Church has a lot to atone for. And I don't remember them apologizing for that. So anyway, the Catholic Church, you know, a lot of these fake man-made religions are just a way to make money.
So let me have Keith, since he's been quoting the Bible a lot, respond to the Pope with his apology and what that did to trigger that deep-seated pain within that population.
Well, it did cause people to be further offended, which is really not going to heal anything. In this country, that same principle, the more we go around apologizing for somebody's, I cannot repent of the sins that Stephen did against people. I can't apologize for Stephen or Todd. I know that the only one who can forgive sins is Christ. Jesus is the only one blood for humanity. And he didn't do it just for whites or blacks or red.
So what about the Catholic Church as a whole? He's apologizing as the Pope for the sins of the Catholic Church.
Yeah, you know, he's not Jesus. There's no way.
He's the head of the Catholic. Oh my gosh.
Doesn't matter. Didn't you just say it's fake religions? Didn't you just berate the?
He's the head of that fake religion.
That's fake religion. He cannot apologize for the sins of other men.
He can.
Only
those can repent. And then let me Pope apologize, you know, for stripping the Native Americans of their culture. Allowed. The best culture in the world is the American culture that was developed. The
Move on. Get him off. Move on. I can't sit here and listen to this kind of ignorance.
And you can't
too dumb to know his culture was stripped from him when he was kidnapped and brought here.
Let me finish my statement.
This is beyond.
Please put the American culture. Let me finish my statement. The American culture has been I'm serious about that. Why? Because it includes a little bit of content from whites, from Native Americans, from Asians, from all of that makes up the American culture. This is what America's all about. Looking
Yeah,
under
but Keith, those people were not in America. They were in Canada. Now that is North America in terms of the continent.
Right,
But we
right.
are slightly different in our culture. The Canadians would
Yes.
not say they are American. They would not say they're U.S. American.
I know.
The Canadians would not say that.
And that's too bad because that's their fault. But, you know, most people that come here, they have the American dream. Okay, the American dream is not based on one dream, it's based on the idea that all men are created equal by God. That's in our declaration. But we don't cite that. We reject that. Many people here reject, become like the other countries that they fled so that they could get away from oppression. Yeah.
Okay, Nas, do you want to comment?
I mean, there's really not much to say. I guess the thing would be, I guess, awareness about the genocide and also cultural oppression that was put on the Native Americans in Canada. It's not talked about as much because most people, you know, there's so much out there about what America has done, but there's not as much about what Canada has done. So yeah, the indigenous people of Canada deserve dignity. They deserve not only reparations, but they deserve their land back. There's a book by a Canadian historian, and the name is Slipping from Sovereignty. That's the name of the book. Look that book up and just read about this professor. He was contacted by a native tribe in Canada. They said, hey, come out, we want to talk to you. He comes out, they meet with him, and they say, okay, what is this word sovereignty? And he kind of gives them the definition of sovereignty. He says, okay, so why does your government have sovereignty over us, and when did they get it? And it turned into like this long conversation, and you know, these people trying to figure out, okay, how the hell do we get our stuff back? But you know, it's interesting.
All right. Thank you. Let's see. Let's move on. Oh, look who's back. Just in time for us to move on. Look who came back.
This morning, a Pennsylvania lawmaker is facing criticism for attending his gay son's wedding last week.
3 days after opposing a bill in the U.S. House that would enshrine protections for same-sex marriage into federal law. Representative Glenn Thompson's office said in a statement that he and his wife were thrilled to attend the nuptials and are very happy to welcome a new son-in-law into the family. Thompson was one of 157 House Republicans to oppose the legislation, which would protect the right to same-sex and interracial marriages nationwide. His office did not respond to a follow-up question about why he decided to vote against the measure.
So, Keith, do you want to explain that? Can you explain his actions?
Well, I guess he just wanted a wedding. I mean, that's fine with him. I don't care. I wouldn't go to my son's wedding if he were gay. That's just me. So he did what he was. Makes this America. See.
And Nas just made a comment, Keith. Nas said, listen to the Christian. How can you be a Christian and not love your son regardless of what your son is? Or
it has nothing
what your
to do
son
with
says his sexuality is, not what he is, because that's two different things.
It has nothing to do with whether I love him or not. I can love my son just as God loves us and tells us we're wrong.
Cousin Todd.
It's hypocritical, typically. I have no respect for cowards like him who oppose gay marriage, wink, wink, unless it's his child. Then you catch him at every gay wedding in town, no different than Dick Cheney, who was against gays in the military until his daughter turned out to be gay. And now he's at every gay wedding in town. Just like Reagan. The Reagans were against stem cell research until, of course, her husband got Alzheimer's, and then she's all for it. Typical Republicans, unless it happens to them and their families, they're not interested. They can't relate.
Stephen? Sorry, Stephen.
Is Liz Cheney gay? I didn't know that.
We're moving on, dum-dum.
Stephen?
No, but I didn't know that.
We have moved on. Stacy, move the show along so nobody thinks this is the Gong Show.
Stephen, why won't he answer? He won't answer that. I want to know, is Liz Cheney gay? Is she a lesbian?
Go ahead. Will you comment, Stephen, on...
I think you can't hear him.
We
so
can't
let's
hear
move
you.
on.
You're not blocked.
Okay, good. Now, at least we won't hear two dum-dums. We'll stuck with one. So nevertheless, this is how these Republicans do.
Well, let me get Nas in on this. Nas, the hypocrisy that some people said that the Congress has, that congressman is in Pennsylvania. He's voting against gay marriage, but going to his son's gay wedding, or his same-sex marriage, not gay, his same-sex marriage.
Yeah, well, I mean, we spent the last few years kind of saying this, but the cruelty is the point. Like, that's what their supporters like. Their whole lives are centered on triggering the libs, as they say, owning the libs, as they say. So, like, this is what they get. They don't get real policy. They don't have anything that they're actually for. It's just a list of grievances and things that are against. And if they know that they can always get those people to drop their ballot for them by appealing to their base instincts, then they're going to continue to do so. And just to add on to this, what we just heard a few seconds ago from somebody who, been quoting the Bible and talking about how they're Christian, Cornel West really does good work on this, where he gets into the emptiness of that far Christian right, where it's Christian by mouth but not by action. And the love within that Christian group is so limited, it's so narrow that would be reasonable to them, where they say, well, no, I'm not going to your wedding because I don't believe in who you're marrying. I don't believe in your sexual choice, so I won't go to your wedding. So
no, he did go to his wedding. No, he went to his son's wedding, but he voted against.
Stacey, he's making a larger point.
I didn't want to say his name, but I was talking about Keith.
Oh, okay.
So you could see how somebody could call themselves a Christian, but have that limited bit of humanity and ability to love, to where, that's where they are. Like I said, everything is anger and grievance. And if you wrap your life around that, and my God, what we just heard a few minutes ago about American culture and all that other nonsense, well, you can see how, somebody can be, well, what would be the best way? I don't want to say brainwashed, but...
Taken in, yeah, brainwashed.
You tell them what to believe, you tell them what to think, and they will repeat those things as if those things are the most dear thing to their heart. And you can even take their family away from them if it was with their beliefs. And just like he was so interested in asking Liz Cheney's sexual orientation. Why? So he could get on Facebook and YouTube later and talk about it amongst his stupid friends.
That's why I ignore that kind of ignorance. But let me say this, to even broaden this conversation, grown-ups are talking, dum-dum.
Well,
to broaden the conversation, this is mute him. To broaden the conversation, this is the same thing they're doing with abortion rights. Be quiet. Be quiet. Be quiet.
So
this is what they're doing with abortion rights and contraception. Now, if you look at these white male Republicans and their families, they have 1, 2, 3 children at the most. Now, it's no way possible that these white males, 40, 50, 60 years old, only have 2 and 3 children with their wives, unless she's on some kind of contraception to not have 8, 10, 12 children. So again, they can do it, but you can't do it. It is so typical. The hypocrisy is amazing.
All right, we're running out of time, so we're going to start.
Poor Republicans like Keith and Stephen, they're not for you.
I'm not a Republican.
They have nothing
We're
for
not
you.
Republicans. We're not
Sure,
Republicans.
you're not. You're a Trump supporter.
We're not.
That means you're a Republican.
So let me have
Trump's
Stephen.
not a Republican.
Oh, first you hated Trump, then you love Trump, and then you're a never Trumper.
I don't love Trump. I love a lot of the things Trump did, and I still have my problems with a lot of things things he did wrong, in my opinion.
And let me say this, and then you can move on, Stacey. If you think you said
I'll take him over Joe Biden,
Antifa,
wouldn't you?
It was Antifa that stormed the Capitol, which you said they just walked in there nicely. Then once you found out that they didn't walk in nicely, they broke the doors and windows down.
They were there.
You said that was
Antifa.
Antifa.
The FBI.
That was Antifa. So Antifa wanted Donald Trump to win the election because Antifa wanted Joe Biden to win the election. So they were trying to thwart the election
so wanted
that Trump would win.
Because they wanted to cause a riot. They wanted to cause a riot.
So and delay the process so that Donald Trump can win. Okay,
So-
I'm done.
Sorry,
You make no sense at all.
Who lied to you.
Antifa wanted Joe Biden to win.
Know what you're talking
He
about.
won. So you think
You'll
Antifa
understand.
went up there
You'll
to
understand.
stall and hold up the
Well, then-
election process
No,
so
I
that
think
Donald
I
Trump
think
can
very
win?
few, a little bit of
You're crazy.
Antifa was there. FBI was there. A lot of people were there.
You're
a lot of
crazy.
groups infiltrated, and a lot of it
Hey.
was more than Antifa. It's the FBI, and I think
You're
the
crazy.
FBI is involved with Antifa.
So Nas, do you want
No, it's
to?
not
Okay,
true.
let me get
I
Nas
have
to talk
proof.
about
I have proof.
Bannon. Let's talk about Bannon being found guilty. Nas, do you want to comment on that real quick?
Yeah, well, I mean, he's going to try to play this into a martyr role, similar to a certain person in Germany who went to jail and then came out of jail and rose to power. Look, Bannon is really dangerous. The idea of Trumpism was always Trump was kind of the avatar for this global right-wing movement that Bannon has been pushing for years. Like, this is a really smart, crafty man, and he is damn dangerous. So I think he knew that this is how this would play out with him, dismissing the subpoena initially and all of that. But his reach has not stopped. He's got a movement in Brazil. He's got a movement in England. He's got a movement in Germany. Like, he is a dangerous dude, and what he's pushing is not going to be good for the majority of the world. And Trump is just the first step. He can replace Trump with somebody else and push the same type of ideals, and I think that's what they're starting to look at now. They appear to be grooming
That's right,
DeSantis
Nas.
for that. But yeah, Bannon deserves to go to jail. But yeah, man, this ain't the end of him. I promise you that.
All right.
Russia's state-owned energy giant says it will further reduce gas deliveries to Europe. Gazprom is cutting its current supply via the Nord Stream pipeline down to about 20% of capacity from Wednesday. The company's CEO said it was down to an ongoing turbine issue.
As of today, there is no solution to the ongoing equipment issue at the Porto Vea compressor station. There is just no solution whatsoever yet.
The German government denied there was a technical reason to limit supplies. The pipeline, which pumps gas directly to Germany, has been running well below capacity since June. At that time, Gazprom stated the delivery of a new turbine as a reason to reduce flows. European countries imposed sanctions on Russia in response to its invasion of Ukraine. The EU and Ukraine have accused Russia of using energy as a weapon.
The gas blackmailing of Europe, which only gets worse every month, is required by a terrorist state to make life worse for every European. And this can actually be perceived as an incentive for the EU's 8th sanctions package to be significantly stronger than the recently approved 7th.
In response, the European Union has asked member states to cut their gas usage over the next 7 months. Russia's move is likely to make it more difficult for EU countries to store gas ahead of the winter.
Okay, so this will be our roundtable, and I want to start with Keith, then Stephen, then Nas, and Cousin Todd to talk about the trickle-down effect that this stopping of gas to Europe by Russia is going to do and eventually get to America. Why is Russia doing this? What piece of this puzzle? What does this piece of the puzzle do? Let's start with Keith, then Stephen.
Russians are doing this for the same reason that China does it, and even the left, the Democrat, what they do is they cut back the use of our resources that God gave to live a better life. God gave us the resources so that mankind could live more abundant life, as Jesus said. But there are certain evil men, whether it's this country, whether it's Russia, whether it's China, whether it's
live an abundant life, even though you're destroying the country.
Are in league to destroy the human rights, to destroy the natural rights of citizens. They don't deserve to be leaders of their country any more than our leaders, most of them.
So polluting the air is okay. That's what God wants.
Polluting the air, we already solved that problem. We're not polluting the air half as much as China. They have no regard for the environment whatsoever. I mean, we have a little good enough, but we still don't need to stop production resources or even on nuclear energy. Nuclear energy is the cleanest energy. We have the technology to contain it, but yet we don't. You don't even talk about it. Nuclear energy is clean. If we could power up a whole with nuclear energy.
Okay.
If we want.
Thank you. We're running out of time. Are you finished, Keith?
Well, I was going to make
yes, he is.
something else that I
make it really quickly. Make it really quickly.
Is very well adept at attacking me. You know, when I cannot respond. He attacks me when I can't respond.
Nas, he said.
But I just say, infinity, there is no way that you're going to be able to avoid this. One day, right? One day, the word of God will prevail. That's all I have to say.
Okay, thank you, Stephen.
Stephen, he's asleep, I think. Wake your boyfriend up, Keith.
All right, I think he's having some sort of technical difficulty. Nas. Oh, Stephen,
there
you back?
he is. Yeah, wake up.
Nas, go ahead, Nas.
Well, if you're a country who is dependent on
Stacey.
gas and as exports, that would be the card you play in any time you get in a tough situation. So, of course, Russia is going to threaten that. The idea is, hey, you guys stop with the sanctions, then maybe you won't have any issues getting that oil and gas before the winter over there in Europe, where you don't have any oil-producing countries within the EU, so you obviously are going to need this. So this is just typical negotiation. We'll see how it plays out. But as far as like what we're paying at the gas pump and what the world is paying, this is all from the pandemic. This is from the global slowdown of supply chains where everything was disrupted. China was first back on their feet, so they were the first to get the majority of oil shipments. But y'all just got to remember how bad it was early on, man. They had to send whole shipping containers back empty at certain points because there was no warehouses, there was no people working to fill them, and
we weren't driving as much.
So of course, yeah, we ended up, on the short end of that in the long run. But yeah, this oil disruption, yeah, that part is not over. We'll see. Maybe we'll tap the reserves to give people relief at the pump. How about that, Mike?
Well, also President Biden did go over with his, handout when he went over to the Middle East not too long ago. That's probably where he got COVID.
Begging bowl, because that's what they used to say about the African nations when they would go and meet the girls. So yeah, Biden with his begging bowl to get them to turn on the spigot.
Right. Okay. Thank you, Cousin Todd.
Well, see if Stephen. Is woke.
No, I still think he's having some sort of technical difficulties.
Okay, he's asleep. Yeah, people weren't driving during the pandemic much. And so now what they've done was take advantage of this situation that's going on with Russia. And they're jacking these prices up to make a lot of money. And as far as Russia holding up the oil to these countries, that's just typical. So, like Nas was saying, if you stop these sanctions, then the oil will flow. Until then, I'm gonna hold you up. But this is why we have to get clean energy, and we have to hurry up and get electric cars on the go and use more clean energy. Okay, Steven just got up and left. He woke up and he probably had a nightmare. And
all right, we're out of time. To our first responders and in our community, you make our lives livable. Thank you, thank you, thank you to the women and men of the U.S. military for all that you do in sacrificing your lives so that we are free to say anything we choose to on this show. We are
no matter how ridiculous and contradicting it is, Stephen
we are
and Keith.
forever indebted. On behalf of Aguna, the Nigerian moderate Republican who is on vacation, Keith,
we'll be back next week,
the constitutional conservative,
supposedly,
Stephen, the independent thinker,
which he is absolutely not,
and my cousin Todd. I just want to know why I'm taking a pause for Todd to make his peanut gallery comments.
Well, because you know Todd, it's the truth, and the truth will set you free.
We appreciate you, Nas. Nas, we need you. We appreciate you, Nas. Thank you, Nas, for joining us.
Listen to the night. Hell, I was calling for Aguna. Help.
We'll keep this conversation going on social media. We'll see you next week, 7:30
on The Flow and YouTube.
Check us out. Thank you on The Flow Television Network. Stephanie Stallworth, The Flow Television Network, YouTube, Twitch, Twitter, TikTok, Instagram. Check us out. We'll see you next week.